Valve's new game may have just been leaked. We finally get a look at a Japanese Assassin's Creed, and there's a GTA 6 update, so obviously we have to talk about it. I'm Ash Dixon, and this is Ginx News. Valve's long-awaited next game may have just been leaked, and no, keep your pants on, it's not Half-Life 3. Instead, it's apparently a competitive 6v6 shooter, which is an absolute mishmash of genres. The rumors come from Twitter user Gabe Follower, a well-known data miner and insider. According to him, it's called Deadlock. It's a competitive third-person hero-based shooter, 6v6 on a huge map with 4 lanes. There's usable abilities and items, but there's also tower defense mechanics and a fantasy steampunk setting. It's a blend that I don't think many people saw coming. In fact, Gabe Follower described it as a combination of Dota 2, Team Fortress 2, Overwatch, Valorant, Smite, and Orcs Must Die. And look, hero shooters, quite the oversaturated market. In fact, I think a lot of people will be disappointed to hear that this is what Valve's been cooking up. If it's true, of course. Still, there seems to be some interesting elements sprinkled on top, so maybe there's enough to make it stand out. And to be honest, it's just nice to see Valve putting out more games. Yeah, I know CS2 dropped only recently, but it didn't exactly feel new. And other than Half-Life Alyx, it kind of just feels like Valve are happy to sit back and rake in that Steam money. Either way, if this leak is true, it's Valve, so people are obviously going to give it a go. And I'm curious what you think. Is this what you want to see from Valve? If not, what do you wish they were making instead? Let us know down in the comments. The new Assassin's Creed, set in 16th century Japan, has finally been revealed. I feel like since the franchise's inception, people have been thinking that a Japanese installment would be sick, and with Assassin's Creed Shadows, we're finally getting it. It seems there's going to be 2 main protagonists to choose between, each with different playstyles. Naoe is a young yet skilled shinobi, representing the stealthier, assassin-like gameplay. And then there's Yasuke, a powerful samurai for when you just want to pulverize your enemy. Now, as you can imagine, a black character appearing in a game about feudal Japan is always going to cause a stir, so before we jump into that thorny discussion, it's worth pointing out that Yasuke is a real historical figure. He was an African warrior employed as muscle for an Italian missionary who was visiting Japan during a brutal civil war. Upon his visit, he caught the attention of the famous warlord Nobunaga, who was fascinated by his skin and his formidable strength, and soon after, he was serving under his army. And it's hard to argue that his story doesn't lend itself to some really interesting narrative opportunities, and while it's believed he was the first foreign-born samurai, he certainly wasn't the only African living in Japan at the time. Either way, even with that context, there's an argument that people have been waiting a long time for a Japanese Assassin's Creed, and Yasuke is a small part of its history, and that the focus should be elsewhere. Now, the one Japanese person I've had the chance to talk to about this honestly couldn't care less. They actually thought it was a cool trailer despite not really being an Assassin's Creed fan. Obviously, he doesn't represent the view of all Japanese people. That would be silly. We actually ended up having quite a big discussion on the marketing side of things. Assassin's Creed isn't a massive game in Japan, and this decision was likely made to appeal to Western audiences. A lot of the black community love anime and Japanese culture in general, and it's not exactly strange to see black characters exist within Japanese media. You only have to look at the massively popular Afro Samurai. Still, if that is the reason, I guess there is a bit of a condescending element to it. I think everyone who's excited for Shadows would be whether Yasuke was in it or not. Either way, I think yet again things are being blown out of proportion. At the end of the day, I think the most important question is, does Yasuke's inclusion negatively affect the game? I'd argue no. In fact, I think his character makes for an incredibly interesting addition. But then again, I'm just a white British guy who likes playing video games. We're now gonna open it up in the comments. What do you think of Assassin's Creed Shadows? And what do you think of Yasuke's inclusion? There's definitely a discussion to be had here. And while I might be naive in saying this, being that we're on the internet, I trust you lot to share your thoughts in good faith. Buckle up, kids, we've got some GTA 6 news. The release window has been closed from 2025 to fall 2025. Yeah, it's still painfully far away, but at least we're getting a clearer picture for when we'll actually be able to get our hands on this thing. Would you believe it's been 5 months since we got that reveal trailer? Truth be told, I would very much just like to forget about its existence, because then time would really fly. Sadly, across the internet, everyone can't help but use the most recycled comment of all time. I can't believe we're getting X before GTA 6. Honestly, I now mostly want GTA 6 to drop so all those people will shut the up. It's time for the Quickfire Round, and we're going to kick things off with the Xbox Proteus, a new modular customizable controller for gamers with accessibility issues. It will cost a hefty $299, although there is a 15% pre-order discount. According to manufacturers BioWave, the Proteus allows players to build over 100 million traditional and custom configurations and has LED lighting variations, and will begin to ship this autumn. Obviously, the price is steep, but I'm just glad that the industry is finally catching up and making gaming available to more people. It's only over a year after PlayStation launched theirs, but hopefully these controllers are just the standard going forward. Next up, we mentioned data miner Bill Bilkin earlier this week when they leaked that God of War Ragnarok would soon be coming to PC. Well, now they're claiming that the Epic Games Store are set to offer 4 AAA games over the next few weeks. And the first one is the Game of the Year edition of Dragon Age Inquisition, which you can get right now. And yeah, I know people are still pretty salty about having multiple game fronts, but when Epic is throwing out so many free games, I mean, that is the way to do it. And finally, if you're a long-time viewer of Ginx News, thank you. I appreciate you. I love you. Check out our Patreon, Ginx Plus, if you haven't already. And you will also know about the Stop Killing Games campaign by Accursed Farms, which aims to prevent publishers from making online games unplayable. Well, the UK government has responded to the petition, and it ain't good news because they've said that there is no requirement in UK law for companies to support old software. And while they've caveated that by saying that maybe they require the game to be made available offline, it's not a good start for the campaign. The petition has so far hit almost 25,000 signatures, and if it reaches 100,000, it will be considered for parliamentary debate, so no harm in signing it, just temper your expectations. Though do expect more Ginx news next week. Like and subscribe so you don't miss out, and have a wonderful weekend.